Good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to tackle about the models of social change. The topics we are going to cover today is the traditional structure of patronage and dependence, the class conflict model, and the interest group. What is social change? Sociologists define social change as a transformation of cultures, institutions, and functions. Most change isn't instantaneous. In society, change is often very slow. There are a variety of parts and forces at work, many of which resist disruptions of the status quo. All societies go through these types of changes at one point.
Traditional structure of patronage and dependence. As part of a general movement toward the study of complex societies in political anthropology, the last few years has witnessed a proliferation of empirical studies in patron-clientism. Most of this literature has been essentially descriptive in character, but more recently attempts have been made to analyze the problem of the relation between transitions in these clientism and the kinds of structural change implied by notion of increasing social complexity. The concepts employed in this analysis have by and large been those of neo-Weberian modernization theory. Patronage as a phenomenon within complex societies has been ascribed to the survival in the theme of residual traditional elements, while its displacement first by the phenomenon of brokerage, and later by horizontally articulated forms of political mobilization has been ascribed of the eradication of these elements by the modernization process. Through the examination of the rise-fall of Irish rural society, most characteristic occupant of the role of patron the government, this paper attempts to assess the strengths and weaknesses of this thesis, and more generally the theoretical problems raised by efforts to accommodate the typical categories of political anthropology with dynamic theories of social change.
Conflict theory model. Conflict theory views social and economic institutions as tools of struggle among groups or classes used to maintain inequality and the dominance of the ruling class. This figure shows that class struggle is intrinsically a process of transformation of structures, and thus the very process which sets limits on class struggle is at the same time transformed by the struggles so limited.
An interest group model. An interest group or an advocacy group is a body which uses various forms of advocacy in order to influence public opinion and/or policy. Interest group usually forms formally organized, that on the basis of one or more shared concerns, attempts to influence public policy in its favor. It shares a desire to affect government policy to benefit themselves or their causes. This graph is an example of interest group model that shows on how they use various forms of advocacy in order to influence public opinion or policy.